Good evening. Welcome to the Connecticut Department of Transportation Public Information Meeting for State Project number 0011-0163. This project involves replacement of bridge number 07106 on Route 189 and Brown Street over an unnamed brook in Bloomfield. My name is Nitin Bhattacharya and I am a project engineer with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope this presentation gives you clear information about the project and we will try our best to answer your questions. If you are joining through Zoom, you can turn on captions or subtitles. To use this feature, first click on Show Captions at the bottom of your screen and then select Speaking Language and you can choose the language you prefer. Before we begin the presentation, here are a few housekeeping notes. The presentation will take about 25 minutes. We will provide information on the existing conditions, the purpose and need of the project, and our proposed design. After the presentation, we will have a live question and answer session. We would like you to know that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. A civil rights notice is available at the City DOT website at portal.ct.gov /DOT/equity /title VI. We kindly request that you fill out the voluntary post-meeting survey. Your feedback will help us improve future meetings. The survey is available at portal.ct.gov /CTDOT survey or by scanning the QR code on this slide. Both links are also available on the project webpage. This slide shows the Title 6 Notice to the Public in English. It explains how to file a complaint with the City DOT. We will pause for a few moments so you can read this slide. This slide shows the Title 6 Notice to the Public in Spanish. We will again pause for a few moments so you can read this slide. You can communicate with us during the live Q&A session in three ways. The first is through Zoom Q&A chat. Please note that this is only available during the live session. The second is by leaving a voicemail at 860-594-2020. We'll be checking voicemails from time to time during the presentation so we can hear your comments and answer your questions. Please also remember to leave your contact and project information so that we may reach out to you directly if we cannot get back to you during the live question and answer session. The third is by leaving written comments by scanning the QR code on this slide or by visiting the project website. Please note that you may not receive an answer immediately, but a response will be provided. You can ask questions until December 18, 2025 through QR code, website link, or through voicemail. A recording of the full presentation and question and answer session will be available on the project webpage with closed captions and translations. The webpage can be found at portal.ct.gov /dot Bloomfield 0011 0163. To ask a question using Zoom Q&A feature, first click the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom window. This will bring up the Zoom Q&A chat window. Type your question in the text box and click send. On the screen, you will see your questions and others that have already been answered. Please note that the project team will respond in the order questions are received. Now, I would like to introduce the project team from Connecticut Department of Transportation. On the top row, we have going from left to right. Derek Lassard is the Division Chief of Bridges. Gregory Funk is the Principal Engineer of Consultant Bridge Design, Consultant Liaison Engineer, CBD CLE Program. Brianna Ritako is the Supervising Engineer of CBD CLE Program. And on the bottom row, we have going from left to right, myself, Nitin Bajacharya, Project Engineer of CBD CLE Program, Jack Carlson from the Office of Right of Ways. BL Companies is the Consultant Liaison Engineer CLE for this project, and will work with CTDOT to provide project oversight during design and construction. Sean Lodadi is the program manager. Jennifer Usser is the program advisor. She will host the Q&A session later. Daniel Pinto is the liaison engineer for this project, and he will speak about the project details in a moment. Hardesty and Hanover LLC is the design consultant on this project. Ben Hawthorne is the senior project manager. Sean Brown is the project manager. Philip Kendall is the lead highway engineer. You will hear from them about the proposed structure later this evening. Thank you for your patience. I will now hand over to Dan from BL to begin the project specific information.
Thanks, Nitin, and good evening to all in attendance. I'm Dan Pinto, a liaison engineer with BL Companies, and tonight I will be taking you through the existing conditions of bridge number 7106. Here's a location map showing the location of our project. Bridge number 7106 conveys an unnamed brook under the intersection of Tungus Avenue, Route 189, Brown Street, and Terry Plains Road in the town of Bloomfield. The structure is located approximately 1 mile north of Route 178. Here we have an aerial map showing the location of bridge number 7106. On this slide, we show the typical bridge components of a culvert. Culverts convey flow beneath the roadway, and embankments slope into the end wall and wing walls. The pipe invert is the lowest point in the culvert where flow occurs. CTDOT inspects all bridges with a span length greater than 20 feet on a biannual basis, in accordance with federal standards, and they compile a report that includes condition ratings and any noted deficiencies. Here you can see the inlet elevation view of the existing structure, which consists of a 104-foot long, 96-inch by 69-inch steel corrugated metal pipe arch culvert beneath approximately 2 feet of ballast material. The structure was constructed in 1956 and has an estimated average daily traffic of 8,500 vehicles per day. Now we're going to look at a few photos of the structure. On this slide, we are showing a picture of the upstream channel in the top left photo. In the top right photo, we have the inlet elevation. The bottom left photo is the outlet elevation, and the bottom right photo is a picture of the channel looking downstream. The purpose and need of the project is to address the structural deficiencies of the existing structure. As mentioned previously, bridges in the state of Connecticut are inspected every 2 years at a minimum, and per the most recent inspection report, the culvert was classified as being in serious condition. This is due to the heavy to laminated rust and perforations with active leakage. The protective coating of the culvert is deteriorated and missing along the bottom of the pipe. The connection bolts also exhibit isolated top bolts that are not fully engaged. I will now pass it to Sean Brown with Hardesty and Hanover to go through the proposed replacement.
Thank you, Dan. I will now talk about the proposed bridge replacement as part of the project. As was mentioned previously, the existing steel culvert is deteriorated and will be replaced with a proposed precast concrete box culvert that is 104 feet long. That proposed culvert is shown in orange in the view below, and just for orientation, this view shows north, uh, located to the right. Tungus Ave is shown left to right on this sheet, and the unnamed brook flows from top to bottom of this page. In addition to the proposed precast culvert, there will be uh, proposed retaining walls or wing walls constructed at the inlet and outlet ends. These are also shown in orange. Uh, there will also be concrete head walls and retaining walls at the inlet and outlet, and those will be shown in greater detail in the next few slides. New concrete barriers are also proposed over the culvert to protect the roadway, which will then transition to metal beam guide rail. As you can also see in this image, the project includes proposed sidewalks that will connect all of the interconnecting streets at this intersection with the improved bus stop facilities that are located north on Tungus Ave. Lastly, the small existing dam or weir located on the inlet side of this culvert will not be affected by the project. In this slide, we see a longitudinal section of the culvert, and this is as though we've cut the culvert lengthwise down the middle and are now looking at it facing north. The proposed concrete parapets that were mentioned earlier are shown here. They are 42 inches tall. In addition to the new parapets, there will be 5 feet wide sidewalks on either side of Tungus Ave and a 7-foot wide bike lane that includes a 2-foot painted buffer between the bike lane and the edge of travelway. In addition, in this view, we see the ordinary high water line, and that's shown as OHW. For reference, that's just generally where we expect water to be most of the time. And shown here in purple is the proposed riprap or stream bed material placed inside the culvert and in a riprap basin at the outlet on the right. We'll show the riprap basin in further detail in the next slide as well. This view shows us the outlet elevation of the proposed culvert, and this is as though we're looking at the outlet west and upstream of the unnamed brook. The proposed 42-inch concrete parapet is also shown here, and it transitions on the left-hand side, in this view on the left-hand side to the proposed metal guide rail. For reference, the asterisk shown on the left indicates the top of pavement elevation. The proposed grade at the culvert is shown in dark brown, and there's a leader also showing the existing grade to show the difference between the existing grade and proposed grade as part of the project. As mentioned, the stream bed material or riprap is shown in purple. The purpose of providing that stream bed material inside the culvert is for fish passage as part of the project. And from here, I will turn it over to Phil Kendall to talk about the maintenance of traffic during construction and the proposed staging.
Thank you, Sean. Over the next 2 slides, I will cover how we anticipate maintaining traffic during the replacement of this culvert. However, before I go too far, let me explain the new colors you're seeing on the screen. The green and purple are representing where we anticipate the traffic will be located during construction. The brown is representing the two driveways that are within the construction area that will be maintained. And the red is the construction area itself. And as previous Sean mentioned, the orange is the proposed culvert and the blue is the water. And similar to the slide that Sean mentioned, north is to the right in this graphic as well. And I would be remiss not to mention that we are in the early stages of design, and the maintenance and protection of traffic layouts may change as we advance the design, but this is what we anticipate at this point. On the screen right now, we're showing the first phase of MPT, in which the traffic will be shifted to the west or up on the screen to allow for the removal and construction of the downstream half of the culvert. One lane of traffic in each direction will be maintained at all times for all legs of the project. The traffic will be controlled by signals similar today, but in temporary locations. If you look closely, you can see arrows on the screen. Those are the indication of the temporary signal heads. As I mentioned before, the two driveways within the construction area will be maintained and open at all times. The second slide is showing the second phase of construction and how we anticipate maintaining traffic. This slide is using the same colors as the previous slide, and there are a few items that are similar to phase 2 as there are in phase 1. As I mentioned, one lane of traffic will be maintained in each direction at all times. The traffic will be controlled by signals, similar today, but in temporary locations, and the two driveways will be maintained at all times. The major differences between phase 1 and phase 2 are the traffic will be shifted to the east, down on the screen, to allow for the removal and construction of the upstream half of the culvert. And the intersection of Terry Plains Road and Tunxus Ave is slightly different and almost a traditional T intersection to allow for the traffic to get around the construction area. Again, I want to restate that we are in the early stages of our design, and the maintenance and protection traffic layouts may change as we advance the design. Thank you. Now I'll hand the presentation back to Dan.
Thanks, Phil. Now we will take a look at the utility, permitting, and right-of-way needs of the project. In terms of utility impacts, they are anticipated to construct the new structure. The 8-inch and 12-inch MDC water mains, as well as the 8-inch MDC sewer main, will need to be relocated. In addition, the intersection and pedestrian signals will be replaced. Aerial utilities will also need to be permanently relocated. Moving on to environmental permits, the project will require the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers General Permit, self-verification, the Connecticut Deep Inland Wetlands General Permit, and the Connecticut Deep Flood Management Certification. Finally, for the right-of-way impact, we anticipate a proposed take at the inlet to install concrete head wall and wing walls. There will be an easement at the outlet to relocate the sanitary sewer, and another easement to construct and grade the riprap basin. We'll also need a slope easement to install the proposed concrete sidewalk along the east side of Route 189, as well as easements to install and maintain guide rail. These items represent the major utility, environmental, and right-of-way considerations that will guide the design and coordination efforts moving forward. At this point, I will pass it over to Jack Carlson with CTDOT Right-of-Way.
Thank you, Dan. So good evening. My name is Jack Carlson, and I'm an assistant project coordinator with the department's Division of Rights of Way. Our office is responsible for acquiring the property rights needed for transportation projects. As mentioned in the presentation, this project will require the acquisition of property rights, so I'd like to give a brief overview of our acquisition process. Any required property rights will be acquired in accordance with Connecticut General Statute Section 13A 73 and 13A 98E, as well as the Federal Uniform Act. Additionally, the specific right-of-way impacts are still being finalized and may change as the project design progresses. Next slide, please. So the right-of-way process acquisition process begins once the project design has progressed to a development milestone and all the impacts have been determined. At this point, each affected property owner will receive from our office a formal letter of intent to acquire, along with a property map which will depict the specific property rights being acquired. An example of a property map is being shown on the right side of the screen. Next, our office will determine the fair market value of those property rights, which will be used to establish an offer of just compensation. That offer will be sent out to the property owner in writing, and a rights-of-way agent will be available to meet with the property owner to explain the project, go over the specific impacts to their property, and explain the department's offer. The property owner will then have a reasonable amount of time, typically 30 days, to consider the department's offer and enter negotiations. When agreement is reached, the department will then prepare all of the necessary paperwork to record the deed and property map on the town land records. However, if an agreement is not able to be reached, in order to keep the project on schedule, the department will acquire the necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain. In that event, the state files a notice of condemnation into Superior Court along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the department's initial offer. The affected property owner would then have 6 months from that date to file an appeal if they felt that the department's offer was inadequate. Whether the property owner chooses to appeal, the money deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner. It's important to note that the department only acquires property rights that are needed for the project. If there are any questions regarding the right-of-way acquisition process, I can answer them after the presentation. And with that, I'll hand it back to Nitin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Here are the estimated project costs and schedule. Please note that these numbers are preliminary and may change as project progresses. Estimated construction cost is at 5.15 million, which will be paid for with 80% federal and 20% state funding. Construction is planned to begin in fall of 2028 and finish by the fall of 2029. This ends the formal presentation. I will now hand the session over to Jennifer Usser of BL Companies, who will host the Q&A portion of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. As Nitin mentioned, my name is Jennifer Usher, and I am with BL Companies. I will serve as tonight's MC for our Q&A session. I'd just like to take a moment to thank everyone for attending tonight's presentation. Really, the purpose of this meeting is just to engage the public, give everyone an opportunity to ask questions, possibly relay any concerns that you may have. So that being said, there are several ways that you can get in touch with us this evening. The first is by using the Zoom Q&A chat that you see over to your right that I believe Nitin had gone over at the beginning of the presentation. The second is by using the phone number, the voicemail there, by dialing 860-594-2020. Please include the project number, which is 11-163 in your voicemail. That will ensure that it goes to the project team that's here with you this evening. And then finally, you can also submit written comment by scanning that QR code that you see on your screen, as well as actually clicking on the link that I put into the webinar chat. And so with that, we can get started on our Q&A session, and I'll see if we have any questions that have come in. See, it doesn't look like anything's been submitted yet. We'll give everything a second. Oh, we got our first one coming in. Fantastic. All right. So our first question, and I'm going to do the best to pronounce everyone's name correctly, and if I butcher your name, I do apologize. And please, by all means, let me know the correct pronunciation. But it does look like our first question is from Marie Pilatus, and she is asking, please clarify the location of the bus stops and sidewalks. I'm gonna hand that off to Phil Kendall of H&H. Oh, Phil, I think you might still be muted if you're trying to speak with us.
I am.
There we go.
I apologize. Thank you. So the bus stops are going to be, the improved bus stops are going to be on it's on the northern end of the limits of Terry Plain, Tunxus Ave, but on the right-hand side of the screen. If you can see that tannish orange color that wraps around the site, that's going to be the new proposed sidewalk, and that's to connect the bus stop around the whole project limits. So the new bus stops, there's going to be 2 improved bus stops on that right-hand side of the screen here on Tunxus Ave. I don't know if, Dan, if you can point to those ends where those bus stops are just to help people if they can see it a little bit. Yes, right there. Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Phil. All right. And our second question coming in this evening is from Valerie Bolden Barrett. And they are asking, how far down into Terry Plains Road will residents face the loss of their properties? And I believe Jack Carlson with Connecticut DOT Rights Away Unit is going to address that question.
Hi, thank you for your question. So the project limits, as shown on the slide in front of you, are for Terry Plains Road is that little red triangle. The property owner at that location, they'll have a small partial acquisition for the installation of that sidewalk. Otherwise, no other property owners along Terry Plains Road should be impacted. Again, on where Terry Plains Road and Brown Street meet, there is as well a small partial acquisition and easement there, and but those are the limits along Terry Plains Road. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that response. And it looks like we've got a couple more coming in. And just before I go to the next question, I just want to make sure everyone is aware that the comment period will actually be open until December 18th. So should you or any of your neighbors have any other questions or comments, they will be able to submit those to the project team until that December 18th date. Again, that will be not using the Q&A chat session because that's only open to us this evening, but by scanning that QR code, which will bring you to a web page where you can actually submit any question and or comment that you have. All right, and with that, we'll get back to the Q&A. So it looks like our next question is coming back from Marie Plaitis and asking, since the water and sewer will be replaced, please confirm service will continue during construction. Please explain how that will be done. I actually can take that question, I think, for the project team. So yes, absolutely. Service, both water and sewer, will be maintained throughout construction. There's a couple different ways to be doing this, and that's kind of means and methods, which will be mostly up to the contractor, but it will be a requirement that they do maintain that service during construction so that there's no outages or any periods where you would not have that. But there's ways to basically do like what they call a wet tap into a water main, which is actually what it sounds like, tapping into a live water main that will kind of maintain that service. And as far as sanitary sewer, usually what they'll do is they'll get something that is referred to often as a honeypot truck that will pump the sewage during the time of construction that's needed to make those new connections. So that should not be an issue. All right, and just moving on. Seem to have a pretty active audience, which is fantastic. We appreciate you all spending some time with us this evening. So the next question is from Rafael Martinez and asking, will there be any trees removed on the north side of Tunxus Avenue? And I believe Sean Brown with H&H will be answering that.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yes, from this view, the north side of Tunxus Ave, there are planned to be some trees removed at the outlet side of the culvert, which is, I believe, on the east side of Tunxus Ave and the bottom of this screen shown here. Those trees are centered around the outlet itself. Although, as we've mentioned before, this is the design of the replacement is in a preliminary stage, and it may change as our design progresses through the course of the project.
And Sean, I'm just seeing that Raphael actually chimed in just to provide a point of clarification. He was actually
West
also
side.
talking. Okay, you saw that. Okay, good. Yep. All right.
Thank you. And thank you, Raphael. The west side of Tunxus, so the inlet side of the culvert and the top of the screen as shown here, there is uh, a slight impact shown on a Tunxus Ave property. It's just to the right of the property line next to the word unnamed. Um, it appears that this is away from the tree line as it's defined in our survey shown on the screen. Um, so at this time, I think our tree removal is centered around the outlet of the culvert.
Right. And I think we have the project team just kind of double checking that so we can get back to Raphael as we go on to the next question, just to kind of double check and confirm. So with that, I will move on. Kayla Floyd is asking how much is being torn up during the construction at 154 Tunxus Avenue, and who would be the best person just to address that question? And I believe if there are right-of-way impacts, maybe Jack could speak to that as well.
Thank you. Yes, from this view, the north side of Tunxus, so the inlet side of the culvert and the top of the screen as shown here, there is a slight impact shown on a Tunxus Ave property. It's just to the right of the property line next to the word unnamed.
And actually, Jack, I'm going to ask if I can just start with you to see about the impacts at 154 Tungus Avenue, and then perhaps H&H can take a look to answer the rest of Kayla's question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So 154 Tungus Avenue, I believe that is the triangular piece, or is that the small? Clarify which parcel that is.
Jack, I believe that's the one on the bottom of the screen
Okay.
where the downstream end of the culvert.
So yeah, so in the red area, that is going to be construction easement. So that area will be disturbed. But as part of the construction easement, the language does require reseeding. And so if there is any disturbed soil or disturbed grass, then that will be replaced. And additionally, as with any acquisition, whether it's an easement or a partial taking, there will be compensation for any impacted trees or vegetation within the construction easement area.
And Dan, if you can go back 2 slides, that would be great, or to the first slide of the overall proposed. And if you look uh, in the area of your project, on top of what Jack was saying, the black is the construction easement work, but from a proposed impact, there'll be a new driveway apron constructed to connect to Tungus Ave, and then there's a sidewalk that will run along the edge of the roadway, compared to what Sean was mentioning in his typical section. So there'll be a sidewalk along the front of the property within the state's right of way, and then with a new driveway apron connecting to Tungus Ave.
All right, yep. And I think Dan's just kind of pointing to that area where you were just referring to, Phil, just to give a little bit more of a clarification
Yes, and
for
that,
there.
yeah, and Dan, if you could follow along the edge of the sidewalk or along the sidewalk, just showing where that sidewalk is, it's that tannish orange color over to the other side of the property. Yep, right there. Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you both. Let's see. And then I think the next question was just about the clarification of the west side of Tungus. So I think we are good with that. Clarification. And so we'll move on to our next question, which is from Marie Pelagus again. After the project is completed, she's asking, please explain the level of restoration of the grounds on the southeast side of Tungus where will there be trees removed? So now we're talking about the southeast side of Tungus. Maybe we'll go back to that. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I think we're kind of talking about, if I believe it's between Brown and Tungus. Oh no, I'm sorry. I apologize. Southeast. So yeah, right there. So sorry. And I believe I'm sorry. I'm handing that off to Jack Carlson of Connecticut DOT Rights Away. Apologize, Jack.
So no problem. So as far as any of the area within the right of way, if there are any trees removed, they probably won't be replanted. I can't say for certain. But on the southeast side, again, there may be some small amount of trees removed, and shown on the plans where those two vertical bars are. There may be within the red area trees removed, but in order for us to remove trees, we would need an easement if it's on private property. So anywhere that there are trees within an easement area, the assumption would be that we will remove them, and as part of that, compensation will be offered to the affected property owner. Any trees within the right of way, we are unable to compensate if we have to remove them because they're on state property. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
And Jack, just to kind of add to that, I think it's fair to say that Connecticut DOT Rights Away will work with the individual property owners that have property that will be affected by this to come to some kind of agreement on the restoration measures. I've seen that happen.
Yeah. So, generally, projects may have a planting plan where there may be specific vegetation for permitting purposes, or depending on what was impacted. Again, it depends on if we're requiring a slope easement, which in that tiny little red portion that may be partially a slope easement. We typically won't replant trees, and we need to be able to maintain the slope. But we can negotiate the value of any impacted vegetation on private property, as well as discuss potential restoration measures during the acquisition negotiation process, for sure.
Thank you for that additional detail. And we have another question that has come in, and this is from Kayla Floyd, and asking, will we get blind driveway signs? And I'm going to hand that off to Phil Kendall with H&H. Oh, and you, I think, are still muted.
I swear
It's getting
I
late in the
clicked it.
day.
I clicked it.
All good.
That will be evaluated as the design advances. If they're needed, they will be added, but there still needs to be determined the full need of that during the design.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I'm not sure that we would need them there, but certainly it is something that Connecticut DOT and H&H will take a look at as that design progresses. And if there's a need, we can evaluate it then. So thank you. Let's see. It doesn't look like we have any open questions. So yeah, perfect. We'll go just back to our splash slide. And just a reminder again, you will be able to get in touch with us for the remainder of this VPIM or this session through the Zoom Q&A chat. You can also leave a voicemail by phone, which we do have someone checking periodically throughout this session. Just please reference project number 11-163. That just again helps to ensure that it gets to the right project team member and that we can respond appropriately. I don't think I mentioned this prior, but not only can you submit written comment using that QR code until December 18th, but you can also leave a voicemail till that exact same date to provide any additional comments or questions that you might have. I would ask that if you do have just a few minutes following this public information meeting, if you could click on the link that I put in the webinar chat and just do the post meeting survey, we would really appreciate it. It does really help us kind of evaluate and understand more about what the public is looking to see and doing a little bit better job as we kind of move through all these public information meetings. So we do value that input and would really appreciate it if you have those few more minutes. Oh, perfect. And actually, looks like Dan just put that up there on the screen as well. So it's the top link there that you see under the voluntary post-meeting survey. And oh, looks like not so much a question, but just more of a comment coming in from Marie Plaitis, just saying thank you for the presentation. Marie, thank you so much for joining us. We know this is taking time out of your personal life, so we really appreciate, the public's interest in any of the projects that Connecticut DOT is doing. I know a lot goes into these presentations, so I will respond and say thank you just for attending it, but we appreciate it. Good to kind of get, as much as the DOT, does what they can, it's always good to kind of get the local input because you guys are the ones who are living on these roads and driving on these roads and, probably have more knowledge about what's happening there than we do since we're not there, on a daily basis. So again, we really appreciate that. And again, I'll just give a little bit more time to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have. If you are looking for any additional information about the project, you can visit our webpage, which again is up there right at the bottom. That has kind of an overall, I'll say kind of an overall detailed description of the project along with the timeline and much of the information that you saw tonight. One reminder is that tonight's public presentation is being recorded. It will also be up on YouTube for viewing after the fact, starting probably about tomorrow. I would say give it to probably about midday or so. But if you had a neighbor who wasn't able to attend tonight and still wants to see the presentation, please let them know because they can certainly search for it on YouTube. And I believe you can also find it on Connecticut DOT's VPIM archives as well. If you do a Google search for that, that should lead you there. Again, we'll just give it a few more minutes and see if anyone else has any questions. I don't want to wrap it up too early. And see if we have any voicemails. Okay, and it doesn't seem like we have any written comments on the website, so I think we're good there. And I'll make, I guess, one more plug, hopefully just one more plug, but yes, if you have a few minutes and you can take that post-meeting survey, again, that would be greatly appreciated. We do really take that input to heart, and it's kind of helped us get to where we are. We've been doing these virtual public information meetings for about 5 years now. So it's really important to us to kind of keep on improving them, make sure we're getting you the information that you're looking for, and answering any questions you have. So I'm just going to give it another minute, make sure no one has any other questions that pop into their head. But again, you have until December 18th, so you can always send us a question through the website there, and or by leaving us a voicemail should something come up. All right. And it doesn't seem like we have anything else coming in, so I guess we're going to call that a wrap. So again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Again, we really appreciate your time. We hope we provided you with the information you're looking for and answered your questions. We look forward to kind of bringing this project through design and then successful completion of construction. So again, thank you very much.